Good morning, KOD Nation. Yankees universe, wake up. And you degenerates, wake up and get your coffee. What it do? We are here live June 14th on this fine Tuesday with another episode of the Yankees Morning Brew. I know you guys missed me yesterday because, we weren't on. I had to, maintenance the back a little bit. I got some Ben Simmons situation going on right there, but I'm good though. Families, what is up? We got a special guest coming on and a wee bit later on. I'll let him introduce himself when he comes on at 11:10. But my guy Sean Alcide from Designated Report will be joining us. Can't wait for that. Sean and I, we go back some years, so it's gonna be a dope little convo. He himself is a Met fan, so I'll let him speak on that when he gets in. But my guys, what is up? Anybody who's tuning in on the Instagram live, salute, good morning. You can click that link that is in my bio. Jump right on over to YouTube and join this conversation. If you guys are very new here, hit that like, hit that subscribe. If you guys aren't following us on the Twitter, go to KOD Media on Twitter. The KOD Media Twitter is up, running. You got Yankees Morning Brew, Twitter up and running. You got the Fight Night Crew, KOD. They're up and running. Make sure you tune in with those guys. They host a Twitter space as well on the weekend. Guys, make sure you guys tap in with my fellas. They were on last night. Obviously, I told you guys, nursing a little back situation. I'm good, though. You may see the camera go off once in a while just so I can stretch it out. But I'm good. I'm going to survive. I got these meds. I got this agua. Don't got no coffee right now because I'm supposed to stay off of it just because of the meds. But great weekend. The Yankees, they beat up on the Chicago Cubs. You got Matt Carpenter, Mr. Mustachio, hitting 2 home runs. Kyle Higashioka, finally a home run stroker. Kyle Higashioka as well had 2 home runs. One came off of a pitch that was a blazing 35 miles per hour. Apparently the slowest pitch ever recorded in MLB history since they've been tracking the ball. Because, you never know what happened back in the days when they had the spitball 20, 30 miles an hour. You never know. But yeah, awesome weekend. Got plenty of things to chop in, to go in, to talk about. Before we have our guests come in, I'm just going to talk about it real quick. Again, shout out to everybody who's tuning in. If you're tuning in on Twitter, if you're tuning in on the Twitch, if you're tuning in on the YouTube, the Instagram Live, I appreciate you all. But yeah, go get right to it. My man, Brian Cashman. The Yankees, 43, 44 wins on the season so far. On this young season, this team is on pace to pass the 98 Yankees. I know as blasphemous as that can be for me to say. But when you look at this team, you got to give Brian Cashman credit. I know a couple of weeks ago, some people in the chat weren't fans of giving Brian Cashman his credit. But hey, when the proof is in the pudding, the proof is in the pudding. And what Brian Cashman has done this year, it's totally made me a believer. Honestly, going into the season, and I'll speak about this more with our guests later on, but going into the season, I didn't have high expectation for this team. Nope. We had some question marks with the rotation. Both Taillon, Severino coming back from injury. Was Nestor Cortez going to be able to be the Nestor Cortez that we saw last year before he got tired out before the season? What are we going to get out of Garrett Cole? How good would Jordan Montgomery be in a full season, healthy? So there was some question marks going into the season. But Brian Cashman made me a believer. Like I said, I know it's a very, very popular thing for us Yankee fans to beat up Brian Cashman or criticize Brian Cashman whenever we can, or just throw dirt on his name. I know fans was upset because Aaron Boone came back, myself as well. My Uncle Foxy, what it do, Uncle Foxy? Saying praise for that back, man. Foxy, thank you so much. I am recovering off of a little treatment that I had yesterday. My brother Worldwide L, salute. my brother, one of the core three for the love of the game crew. Shout out my guy Worldwide L, and shout out Hard Will as well for the love of the game. Jigga Man Portito, the evil genius behind everything. L, I hope you had a good time this Saturday at the FCF championship game. L, hope seeing you in the VIP suits. I mean VIP suites. So I know you had a good time. L, thanks for tuning in. But yeah, like I said earlier, Brian Cashman deserves some credit. Not all the credit in the world. Not all the credit in the world. Because, yeah, over the past, since 1998, since he has taken over, there's been some bumps and errors on it, you know? It's been some misses, some hiccups here or there. I'm not going to lie. We've seen it with Carl Pavano, Jared Wright, Agawa. You know, Steve Carsey. If you guys remember Steve Carsey, we signed Octavio Dotel for that 1 year. It didn't pan out. So yeah, a bunch of stuff. He said, I can't thank the guys from KOD enough. Nice, man. Glad you had a good time. He said, what's the over and under that Hector already on that back pain meds this morning starts drooling about 15 minutes? I would say about 15, 20 minutes. And, you know, in that little range. That's why I got my water. I got to stay hydrated. Because yesterday I made the mistake of not being hydrated while taking these meds. And boy, that was not a good combination. I tell you that. I was like a little toddler just drooling, ba 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 ba. But yeah, Cashman deserves the credit. For how this season is, you know, you take the bad bumps when you get the bad bumps. When you're underperforming and you aren't doing good, I'm gonna call you out on it. But when you do good and you're performing, we're gonna give you your praises. Now we have the trade deadline coming up, right? Over these next 13 games, we have a series starting tonight against Tampa. Then we have a series against the Toronto Blue Jays, another series against Tampa as well. And then we finish it up with a 4-game series with the Houston Astros. So within these next 13 games, this will either bring us Yankee fans back down to reality, or this will exacerbate and blow up our ego even more. If the Yankees over these next 13 games go 10-3, hypothetically, over these next 13 games, my big head is going to get bigger. My ego for this team is going to get bigger. Foxy got that good, you know what I mean? That good dietitian, you know what I mean? Good dietitian over there. Let's see. Pitching has been outstanding. Yeah. Pitching, and that's the thing. You'll have some seasons, and I'm not sure if you guys were able to watch the interview between Aaron Judge and Harold Reynolds from the MLB Network, but even then, Judge pointed it out that ever since he's been here in 2017, you have some seasons that the Yankees will have phenomenal hitting, but no pitching. They'll have a season where the bullpen is solid, but no starting pitching or no offense. Then you have a season where the starting pitch is okay, the bullpen is but the offense is non-existent. This year, you see a combination of the three: hitting, starting pitching, and bullpen. And if you want to throw in our defense just to have a fourth in there, throw in our defense, because our defense this year has been the best that I've seen most recently. If you look back to our 2009 team where we won the championship team, compare this team with that team, I'll take this team. It's all going to come down to September, though, and October. This Yankee team this year, we could win 120 games. But if we don't win a championship, it's going to be forgotten. We all remember the 2001 Seattle Mariners. You guys remember that team? 116, 20 was something like that. 120, 118 wins. But they didn't win a championship. They actually lost in the first round against the Yankees. That the Braves was coming. The Mets caught a break last night. Yeah. And that's one thing too. You know, both the Mets and the Yankees got to give credit where credit is due. Both teams, the first two teams to 40 wins in Major League Baseball. Got to give credit where credit's due, like I say. The Mets deserve all credit. And they're doing it without a Jacob deGrom and a Max Scherzer. Going into this season, everybody said that the Mets are going to go as far as deGrom and Scherzer carries them. Well, so far, deGrom hasn't pitched this year. Max Scherzer has been out for almost a month. And the Mets are still doing what they're doing. Let's see. Are you comfortable with Holmes and Chapman as our closers? I'm comfortable with Holmes, but Chapman, there was an interview with him last week, Foxy. I'm not sure if he was able to catch it or not, but he's already in rehab games. And they asked him this. They asked him, how does he feel? What's his role going to be like when he comes back? And to me, Chappie gave the perfect answer. Chappie said, whatever the team needs, wherever I could help to improve this team is what I'm going to do. So Chapman is coming back with the mentality and the knowing that he's not going to be the closer anymore. So we're going to see a version of Aroldis Chapman that we haven't seen since he first came into the big leagues, if that makes sense. We haven't seen Aroldis Chapman in the 7th or 8th inning row ever since his rookie or second year in the league. So let's see what happens. I definitely need Cashman needs to bring in another arm, but what are we willing to give up? We have some minor leaguers who are on the track. If you guys aren't following the Yankees minor league system, I suggest that you do. Elijah Dunham, he's a left-handed hitting outfielder that has power. So far in the season, I believe he has 11 home runs in the minors. He's shot up the Yankees prospect board into the top 10. I believe they have him ranked 6th or 7th right now. So yeah, I know we know about Volpe. I know we know about Jason Dominguez, Luis Medina, Wozniacki, Austin Wilt. I know we know about those guys. The Peralzas, the Oswald Cabrera. We know about them. But Elijah Dunning is knocking on the door as well. And that's key to this team. Let's see. And bringing a catcher who can hit constantly. Hey, I'm all for the Yankees calling up the Chicago Cubs. Like, listen, I apologize for what we did to you guys this past weekend. Totally apologize. But what's it going to take for Wilson Contreras and an Ian Happ? If the Yankees can make a move for both those players, Ian Happ will solve our center field problem. Wilson Contreras would be a perfect catcher to pair up with Jose Trevino. Again, Brian Cashman gonna call up like, listen, it's not my fault. Major League Baseball, they didn't put a mercy rule in. We should have waved the white flag early in the game, but it got out of hand. It's cool, totally fine. But for Ian Happ and Wilson Contreras, it just depends what the Cubs want. Will I be enticed to give up a Oswald Cabrera? Maybe. A Luis Medina? Maybe. Like I said, it all depends what they want because Wilson Contreras is a free agent after this year as well. That's something to also remember. So you don't want to overpay for somebody who's going to be a free agent at the end of the year, who you could just sign in free agency. If it's not Wilson Contreras, gentleman from the Los Angeles Angels, Kurt Suzuki, always been a player that I've always liked. He'll be a perfect backup for Jose Trevino. He's still good defensively. He still has some pop in his bat. Why not? Sean Murphy with the Oakland A's, he's more of a defensive specialist, and he's struggling offensively, and the A's are struggling, period. So you don't know what the A's are going to want for Sean Murphy. So there's a lot of moves that could happen, and that should happen. But let's see what Cashman does, right? Like I said, let's give Cashman his props. Give Cashman his credit. He deserves it. Oh, I got my guy backstage. I'll bring him right now. But I'm going to just play the intro music real quick just because I like the music. And we'll be right back with our guests. brother Sean. My brother Sean. Salute, my guy. Can you
What's
hear me?
good, my guy? How you doing, beloved?
Oh, everything is good, beloved. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, everything is good, beloved. How you doing, brother?
I can't complain. You can hear me good? I'm good. My volume's
Yeah,
good. All
yeah.
right.
Everything is good now. It was a little scratching at the beginning, but everything is working out now, bro.
Beautiful.
First and foremost, I want to thank you because you are an instructor of the mind. So I want to thank you for taking this time out as you have a little break from your kids to come kick it with us. So Sean, a few of my guests that are in the chat, people that are following me on the channel, they don't know how long we go back. So I'll let you introduce yourself. I'll let them know where you work, what you're working on, what you have in the package, and we get this convo, brother.
Yeah, my name is Sean Alcide. I am a man of many things. I am currently a full-time middle school teacher down here in Connecticut, and I'm also a full-time journalist. I work in sports media, particularly covering the Connecticut Sun and doing a lot of things with my media publication, Designated Report. In regards to our history, we go back 2009,
Yeah.
back in Brooklyn. We both were in the music industry. And we came across one another through a mutual friend, Future. And
Mm-hmm.
it's since the day we met, we were just like bros. Like it was just real, recognized, real, and we just been rocking
Mm-hmm.
since, man. And you're my brother for life.
Nah, man, and that's one thing I wanted to say. Your family, your brothers, welcomed me with open arms, and it's been a constant, always checking in, making sure you're good over these past 10 years. I want to say and I want to bring up bad memories, but it was the week of the hurricane that happened, of the earthquake that happened in
The
Haiti.
earthquake, yeah.
Yeah, the earthquake that happened in Haiti. That is when we first connected and shared that, and you did what you did with that, but you was a little modest with with your intro. You are an entrepreneur. You are a founder and CEO of Designated Report. You're a contributor for the Connecticut Sun. You've been featured on ESPN, NFL, Spectrum. I've seen you with Kendrick Perkins.
Mhm.
So you coming up the way that we've come up, we've always talked about sports from day one.
Mhm.
I think that's the one thing that connected us. I know I'm a Yankee fan, you're a Met fan. We
Yes,
can we
sir.
can we connect close with the Giants. That's the one thing we connect with the
Yeah,
Giants. But
yeah.
I'm a lonely Knick fan. You's a Laker fan. So
Uh-huh.
one thing that was always a constant with us was sports. We
Mhm.
took that trip down to Atlanta, and it was the playoffs at the time, and it was the Lakers and
Mhm.
the Suns in
And
the
the Suns.
playoffs, and I had my heart broken.
You remember that? Wow. I remember, yo,
Yeah.
it was, we drove down there too. For those who don't know, we drove down to Atlanta. It was like 14 hours or something like that in a hot summer because we had to get a
Uh-huh.
song done with Sammy. But yeah, we were in the studio when watching the Lakers game. And then, when Ron Artest rebounds the air ball and puts it back for the game winning layup at the buzzer, I lost it in the studio and you were just like heated because you're not big on the Lakers. So I definitely remember that. I remember that vividly.
Yeah, I think that was a series too that Steve Nash broke his nose back into place
Mhm.
and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Good
yeah,
memories, good memories, good memories. But bro,
absolutely.
get right into it while we have you right now. This is a baseball show. I know it says Yankees Morning Brew, but we talk about it all. So
Mhm,
with the MLB season as it is,
mhm,
Yankees best team in baseball, the Mets are right after them.
mhm.
I just had to throw that in there.
I
But what's your biggest surprise this season? They threw in that third wild card team into the ruffle of the season. But what's your biggest surprise and your takeaway so far from this season, bro?
honestly, and this is gonna, I don't know, this could come in a variety of ways. I think it's not that the Yankees are good, but that they're this good. And
Mm-hmm.
that their pitching is this good. We talked
Mm-hmm.
about how their rotation was supposed to be what's held them back this year, and how Yankee fans were they felt away when we got Max Scherzer in Queens, and they thought that Garrett Cole has not looked good ever since last playoffs or something like that. Nestor Cortez was not supposed to be this good, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody else has picked up slack. Severino has come back from that injury, and he looks like the Severino that you guys thought you had a few years ago when he initially came up. So I think it's how good the Yankees are. But I was also looking through your lineup. Like everyone is batting like 300 or right there. Like
Mm-hmm.
Gleyber Torres, who we know has struggled the last couple of years, is batting like 289, and that's
Mm-hmm.
like the lowest in your starting lineup. Aaron Hicks is batting like 340. Like everyone, right? I'm not
Yeah.
surprised by Aaron Judge, because he's in a contract year and he's
Mm-hmm.
betting on himself. And
Mm-hmm.
I knew he'd have a good year, but he looks like he's going to have a historic year. Like he might
Mm-hmm.
hit 60 home runs and win the MVP. Right now, he's probably running away with that award in the American League. But I think just how good the Yankees are, like they're dominating. And then again, the Red Sox having won that division in years past and haven't been as good as they were, for them to start off this slow, even though now
Mm-hmm.
they're like 3 games over 500, they're still like 8.5 games out, or 12 games. They're like 12 games out from the Yankees. So I think again, it's the Yankees just dominating the AL East as they have so far has kind of
Mm-hmm.
surprised me, because I knew they'd be good, but not this good, and this consistently over the course of the year so far.
Bro, honestly, I said it earlier before you joined in that as a Yankee fan, if I was to tell you going into this season, this was my expectations, I'll be lying to you.
Yeah,
100%. I'll be
right.
lying to you. I honestly did not think this team would be good. I thought we would be second and third place, but to see what we're
Mhm.
doing, and it's during a year where the Mets are having the second best start of their season behind
Mhm.
the 86 Mets. This is the second best start of their franchise.
Mhm.
Not going to be just talk about the Yankees. When it comes to the Mets this season, no Jacob deGrom for the entire year so far. Matt Scherzer is going MIA for a month because of his fluke injury that happened.
Mhm.
Knock on wood that they caught it early before it turned out worse than what it was. An
Mhm.
oblique issue is not something to mess around with in baseball. But
Mhm.
even with that, the Mets are still right there as the second
Yeah.
best team in baseball. From
Yeah.
your Mets, I'll touch in the Dom Smith situation. But who on this team to you has been your breakout star, of somebody that you could point to, be like, you know what, that was a great addition that we added?
So if you talk about it in addition, like one of the new guys who weren't here that
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is hard, man, because it's like every night it seems like somebody else is picking up slack. I
Mm-hmm.
think Starling, like Castro, right? He's
Mm-hmm.
clearly been a breath of fresh air, top of the lineup guy. He has so much speed, plays great defense. But I think Mark Canha has been spectacular for the Mets. The guy seems to have a great at bat every time he's
Mm-hmm.
at the plate, and he always seems to make contact that is going to contribute to either moving runners over or getting a
Mm-hmm.
fly out with guy on third base and less than 2 outs and get the run into home plate. I think Mark Canha, and then he's able to play everywhere in the outfield, and he's even
Mm-hmm.
able to play a little bit in the infield, like at first base if they need him, like if Alonso gets hurt or something like that. But I think Canha and Castro, it's a close call between those two. Obviously Scherzer was spectacular before he went down. Right, that's
Yeah.
Max Scherzer. We expect that of him. He's being
Mm-hmm.
paid like $50 million a year. You expect him to perform at that level. But I think Canha for me was we knew what we're getting in Castro, and we knew Canha was a good player with the Ace, but
Mm-hmm.
he's brought that steadiness to the Mets, and it's just been a breath of fresh air. Again, Castro has been out for a few games when his grandmother died, and Canha had to pick up
Yeah.
the slack. Right, Nimmo has
Mm-hmm.
gone down, with an injury a couple times, and Canha has been the constant guy that's remained healthy, remained hitting, playing good defense, and just playing fundamentally good baseball. So I would say
Mm-hmm.
he's been like the biggest addition by way of the guys that weren't here already that has contributed every single time he's been given an opportunity.
And with Mark Canha as well, Mark Canha, when you guys have got him, he was more of a under the radar acquisition. Like
Yeah,
some people thought he was just a throw-in in the Chris Bassett trade, right?
right,
But when you
right.
look at it, he is bottom. I think he's the bottom 10 in the league when it comes to striking out. He's not
Yeah,
striking out.
he does not
In this
strike out.
day and
Nope.
age, in 2022, a
Mm-hmm.
baseball player that doesn't strike out as much as 162 game, that's a
Right.
gold mine right there. You want
Facts.
that type of player on your team. The fact
Facts.
that he could play every outfield position, right?
Mm-hmm.
He silenced the noise. The noise of New York City is not getting to him.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, that Mets jersey looks beautiful on him. Like, I'm
Yeah.
no exaggeration. He looks really,
Yeah.
him and Lindor looks real well in a Mets uniform.
Oh, Lindor looks like he was built in a Mets uniform. Like he looks perfect with the blue and orange pinch, especially the pinstripes, and then you throw in the black jerseys. Those are phenomenal. We're not going to talk about Pete Alonso being the MVP yet because you said new addition, but the Pete Alonso,
No,
the polar bear.
that's next year. Yeah, bring him up.
Polar Bear is like he is having a special year. Like again, we're talking about Aaron Judge, and he's got
Hmm.
like 25 home runs now, if I'm not mistaken. But Alonso
Yeah.
leads the NL and RBIs by a wide margin. And again,
Hmm.
he's now at like I think 17 or 18 home runs. So Alonso's not having a snooze fest either in Queens, and
Hmm.
I think he's going to get a lot of attention for MVP votes when it comes down to it if he keeps this up. Obviously,
I, absolutely. You remember it was a few years ago we were going back and forth of who's the better first baseman in New York, Luke Voigt or Pete Alonso. I think
yes,
Pete Alonso won that
I think
conversation. I,
so. I
I
think
think
so.
it's safe to say. I think it's safe to say Pete Alonso won that
Yeah,
conversation.
considering y'all shipped off, Luke Voigt to San Diego somewhere. But yeah, Pete
Yeah.
Alonso is like he's a stud. He's probably the
Yeah.
second best player in New York. It's between him and Aaron Judge, right? If you talk about
Hmm.
position player, obviously when you throw in pitchers like DeGrom and Scherzer and things like that, but Pete Alonso he's all that. I love that kid.
Bro, what have has your thoughts been on Buck Showalter this season so far? Like to me, when it comes to Mets managers, right? Mickey Callaway, he got a lot of he got a lot of bad rep with everything that he went through and stuff like that, the little behind the scenes stuff. But Willie Randolph, right? To me, I thought that was a guy that should have never been let go, right? Jerry Manuel as well. To me, even though I'm a Yankee fan from the outside looking in, it seems like the Mets are always able to find a manager that's able to shift the culture real quick. But to me, Buck Showalter has done that better than anybody that I have mentioned. So, what's your take so far on Buck Showalter this year?
I think he was the perfect manager for this team, simply because they have the talent, and again, the talent is great. But
Mm-hmm.
in baseball, leadership again in baseball, it's hard to say, right? Because like the guys go out there and they're individually at bats. They're not like relying on anybody else for them to get a hit. They don't need
Mm-hmm.
anybody else to hit for them. They don't need anybody else to field for them. It's individual success. But when you kind of bring a team together, you need a leader that when he steps in that room, all the guys respect him. Buck
Mm-hmm.
Showalter, of all the managers you mentioned, has the biggest bag. Like his resume is no joke,
Mm-hmm.
right? From his time with the Yankees, the Orioles, wherever he's been, he's had some form of success. And on top
Mm-hmm.
of that, the guy is like a baseball manual. Like he
Mm-hmm.
knows every single rule. He knows every single way the game is supposed to be played. Like I remember the Dodgers game when Alex what's his name? Dave Roberts was trying to
Mm-hmm.
put in a pitcher, but they weren't down a minimum of 6 runs yet. And Buck's like,
Yeah.
wait, you can't do that. Like you got to be down. And even the ump didn't know. The ump was confused. And Buck was like, no, you got to be down 6 runs to use a position player to pitch in a game. So again, just that, right? Guys
Mm-hmm.
walking into a room knowing that that guy knows more baseball than them. Literally, I know more baseball than everybody in this room. And on top
Mm-hmm.
of that, I'm going to have your back. You saw him early on in the year when we were getting hit. He's rushing out there.
Yeah.
He's arguing with players, not umpires. He's arguing with the players that are hitting the players. That's
Mm-hmm.
what players want to see, that the guy's going to go at bat for them, regardless of if he's a player or if he's up in age. He's going to have his players back. And nothing makes a player want to play hard when they know that, they're the guy who is in charge of throwing out there is going to have their back regardless. So I think Buck, again, just the combination of respect, knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
and just ability to manage guys. He said early on, bro, like we're gonna need our bench. So
Mm-hmm.
guys were sitting early, like position players who were starters, bona fide starters, were having to sit every now and then because he said, how can we expect guys to come off the bench and hit if they don't ever get in the game to hit? I can't sit for 3 weeks and you ask me to get a pinch hit in the ninth inning against a closer in the MLB. It doesn't work this way. We know how hard
Mm-hmm.
baseball is. So even that strategy, right? Keeping guys fresh, keeping guys engaged, and keeping guys, believing that, I believe in you to get the job done out there. I think that's been phenomenal. And I think that's why he's been our best manager, at least thus far,
Mm-hmm.
throughout the first half of the season so far.
So far, you hit it on the head with every point that you mentioned. And some people like to say that a team, they start to take on the personality and the
Their manager.
characteristics of their
Hmm.
manager.
Hmm.
And Buck is the perfect guy that you want that for, right?
Hmm.
Um, Lindor had a rough first season, right? He has rebounded, and you forgot about that first year.
Hmm.
Who do you think at right now? The season's not over, but being able to transition from the first year to the second year had an easier transition. Carlos Beltran, when he first signed, because you remember that first year, Met fans were giving it to Beltran. He was hurt,
Hmm.
wasn't his fault. but who do you think is having a better second year overall? Because both those teams, the
Come on.
2006 Mets, no,
Come
no, no.
on.
I'm just
Don't
saying
do
the
that.
2000, no, no, no. I'm just saying the 2006 Mets were a phenomenal team as well,
We
right?
should have won the World Series that year.
Should have won. To me, that pitch that from Adam Wainwright was still a ball. In my opinion, that was a ball that was not no
Beltran
strike.
can't take that. He can't take that strike. You got to protect. It's Game 7 for the world to go to the World Series. You cannot leave your bat. You got to protect. It was close enough. We know that. If it's 2 strikes, it's close enough. You have to protect. You have to swing. So regardless, ball or strike, it was a beautiful curveball that Beltran. I'll never forget. I hated Beltran for a decade for that, bro. I hated him for it. And we forget Cliff Floyd had a terrible at bat prior to Beltran striking out with just 1 out. Where if he just gets a fly ball, we have a tie game. Right,
But we
Beltran,
always remember the last out. You always
exactly.
remember
And
the
Beltran
last
was the
out.
star player. He was brilliant. He was paid a ton of money, so he got most of the blame. But, bro, you can't ask me that because Beltran was like that game aside and that memory aside, he was phenomenal as a Met. Like he was.
But I bring it up to ask you, and my fault for cutting you off. I bring it up to ask you is because to me, Beltran and his second season, the biggest thing that helped him was a Carlos Delgado. To me, I think having Carlos Delgado on the team helped him out tremendously. And this year, there is no player that's a Carlos Delgado-esque, but you got Buck Showalter, who literally grabbed him, put him on his arm. It's like, listen, slow down the game. You are a great player.
Right.
You know, then let me rephrase the question. Who do you think had a better impact, Delgado with Beltran or Buck with Lindor?
I think we'll have to see the season out to say that because Beltran had a great year, right? Yeah. Lindor has had a great year so far, but we're not halfway through the season yet. So I want to see, does that translate to 162 games? Does that translate to postseason success? We want to see all that. So I think in about a few months we could recircle this and talk about who had the most impact. But if Lindor goes on downhill trajectory from here and it's like he ends up having a terrible year after a great start, we're not even having this conversation right now. So it's right now you want to nitpick. I could say Lindor because last year he was brutal, and this year he's been one of the best shortstop in baseball. He's just hitting clutch, and he's hitting in the 3 spot. Like people are not realizing Lindor is hitting in the power spot, protecting Pete Alonso, who bats cleanup. So I think it's easy to say Lindor right now, or it's easy to say Beltran right now. But let's talk about this in November, when the season's done and we see what was accomplished that year. Did Lindor end up hitting 30 home runs and 100 RBIs and 25 stolen bases, or did he go on to hit 15 home runs and 80, it's a lot to really speculate what could happen. So right now it's hard to answer that question because Beltran, again, we were 1 strike away from the World Series, and we would have definitely beat the Tigers. We would have beat on the 100%, Tigers in the World Series because the Cardinals beat on the Tigers in the World Series, and the Tigers shouldn't have been there. They just kind of got hot and got ran through some lucky streaks, but we would have beat on them. We would have been the World Series champ. So I think that's we'll have to see about that.
Yeah. And I'm gonna hold you to it. You locked yourself into it. So I have a future date with you in November so we could talk about this. So you locked yourself into that corner.
Whatever you need, beloved.
There's no coming back out from this now.
I got
Ain't no
you,
coming
fam.
back. But we about to let you go in a sec. But before we let you go, besides the Mets and the Yankees and stuff, we've had Joe Girardi be fired, and a lot of Met fans wanted Joe Girardi to be the manager of the team.
I was one.
Look, you guys dodged the bullet with that one. Joe Madden has been fired. There's rumblings of Tony La Russa about to get fired. Is this shocking to you? Because normally in baseball, this happens later on in the season, right? If it does happen, it's probably 1 team. It's not 3 teams. Like it happened. It hasn't happened with Tony yet, but it's coming. Is this a surprise to you, or is just like, yo, you know what? There's an extra wild card team. Some teams are just trying to change up their direction because the Phillies have been playing better since that firing.
Yeah,
the Angels was able to break their losing streak because of that firing. Do you think it's like, all right, we're making this move early because we still have a chance because of that extra wild card team, or it's just the product that's on the field is not up to par?
Yeah, I never understood why baseball took so long because if you get off to a rough 40-game start, there's so many games left. Like you could, firing a coach could definitely spark the team as it's done for the Phillies. So I never understood why this took so long. So I'm surprised a little bit only because of the stature of these managers, right? These
Mm-hmm.
are all champions. Madden's won a
Yeah.
championship with the Cubs. Girardi's won one with the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
La Russa's won one with the Cardinals if he's next to be fired. So it's surprising a little bit because these guys are who they are, but not that it's actually happening. So I think, again, in baseball, if there's any sport that you want to fire a guy early, because, and if you fire him early, obviously you get in the, you don't fire a coach unless your players are like, yeah, I think a change could be good. Like,
Mm-hmm.
especially in a sport like baseball where, guy like he has to go out there and create the lineups. He has to be able to manage pitchers, relievers, and closers and all that other stuff. So I think the team, they won't publicly say this, but they signed off on moving on from these guys. Because if the
Mm-hmm.
team's like, nah, that's our ride or die guy, there's no way management is firing him to bring in some bench coach to take over for the rest of the year. So it's surprising, but it's not, because, again, it's only surprising because these guys are big names who we
Mm-hmm.
think is going to eventually land somewhere else. Like Madden is saying he's still got a lot of baseball in him. We know Girardi is nowhere, near to retiring. So
Yeah.
they're going to try to look to find, another job somewhere. It won't happen this year. But they'll probably do some TV and come back next year and maybe see some more openings and try to take a chance at those.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I can see that. You gonna see Joe Madden at a Burning Man concert event this
No,
summer. But Sean, bro, I appreciate you joining in with us here on the Yankees Morning Brew. My brother, like I said, we do go back 10 years. Your family has always been a second family to mine. So love and peace to your brothers, bro. Moms and pops, hopes all is well as well. Love you, bro. Thank you for tuning in.
appreciate it, man. Anytime, bro. Anytime you need me, let me know. I'm one call, text, IG
Mhm.
message away. And I'm really amazed that you're full blown, media podcast personality guy now. And I love seeing this, bro. So keep doing your thing,
I
bro.
I appreciate it. I had to follow in the footsteps after my favorite rapper, Mr. Allison. You know
You still
that.
had the greatest song to ever come out from anybody in our circle. Like a Star is still forever my favorite song, and I still listen to that song all the time.
Chill, chill. TOS services, terms of service is gonna shut this down off of YouTube. You gotta stop
My
that.
fault, my fault, my fault.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so
No
much.
doubt, man. Have a good one.
All right. Later, baby.
Yep.
That was my guy Sean. Again, appreciate Sean for tuning in. For joining in with us, man. Like I said, Sean and I, we go back 10 years. It's been a solid 10 plus years. And yeah, I can have conversations with him for days. Again, thank you everybody who's joining me on the Instagram live. If you're on the Instagram live, click that link in the bio, jump on over. We in the chat right now, we talking, had a great conversation with my brother. He paved the way for a lot of people to feel like they're able to pursue their dreams. And honestly, seeing him start Designated Report, gave me the battery and the energy I needed to do what I'm doing now with KOD, with Jigga Man Portal, with the Yankees Morning Brew. Shout out to my guys from For the Love of the Game as well. We're gonna have more of these interviews. Yes, tomorrow we'll be having the host from Section 420, who had me on a couple of weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago on his show. So he'll be on tomorrow. So we're gonna keep this up. Now, I like these interview process and everything that we got going on with this. So I like these conversations. If anybody is in the chat, if you're willing to jump on, you're more than welcome to as well. Have a convo, chop it up, talk about baseball, but it was a nice refresher to switch it up, right? But we got a game tonight. And like I said, we got a tough series that is starting tonight. So I'm going to deep dive into it real quick, because why not? Hold on, give me one segundo. When it comes to these Yankees tonight, go against the Tampa Bay Rays. The game will be on TBS, so please remember the game is on TBS. If you have TBS, make sure you tune in. It's not going to be on Yes. It's not going to be on the Amazon app. It's not going to be on Hulu. It's not going to be on Apple TV. It's not going to be on any of them streaming sites. It's going to be on TBS, which means it may be on Hulu. But you know what I mean. But tonight, we got Corey Kluber. Corey Kluber, former Yankee from last year, pitching for the Tampa Bay Rays tonight against Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole is 5-1 on the season, a 3.63 ERA after getting lit up in his last start. Hopefully, Garrett Cole could bounce back. He's pitched 67 innings this season, giving up 55 hits, 84 strikeouts, 17 walks, and 11 home runs. So hopefully, Garrett Cole could take that bad start he had against Minnesota, throw it out the window. Because in this season so far, right, we got Severino, Nestor Cortez, Jameson Taillon, Jordan Montgomery. Each one of those pitchers have a sub-3 ERA. When it comes to stats, statistically, Garrett Cole has been our worst pitcher so far on the season. So hopefully Garrett Cole can turn it around today against this Tampa Bay Rays team. And hopefully our batters could wake up against Corey Kluber. Because last time we faced Corey Kluber, we lost, So hopefully the bats wake back up. Garrett Cole shakes off that bad start. And everything's just peas and carrots, right? Peas and carrots. But let's look at this standings real quick. And when it comes to the standings, Yankees are sitting pretty well, 44-16, 8 games ahead of Toronto, 9 games ahead of Tampa Bay. So right now, over these next 13 games, like I said it, we have 3 coming up against Tampa, 3 coming up against Toronto. We can literally put our foot on the neck of this division right now over these next 6 games. Right? Over these next 13 games, if we go 10-3 over these next 13 games, double-digit lead in the division. Like the great Boomer Esiason says, we never want to touch the money. So we aren't going to touch the money right now. We're going to take these next 13 games, one game at a time, one at-bat at a time, one series at a time, and let's do what we got to do. I have faith in this team. My ego's a little bit, as blown up because of this team. But like I said, baby steps, right? Tampa tonight, Toronto after that. But guys, it's about that time. It is 11:43. Happy Puerto Rican weekend that just passed. The Puerto Rican Day Parade and the festival, everything was awesome. I'm recovering off this back injury, so I'm be out of commission for the next few days. But guys, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you join tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be tapping in, going over the Tampa and Yankees series. But guys, like always, peace, love, like and subscribe. Share this with your friends. Share this on social media. KOD Nights of DJ, KOD Media YouTube channel. We have 451 subscribers. Thank you to all the new subscribers. We on our way to 500. Make sure you join us on this way. Make sure you join us on the way to 500. This has been another episode of the Yankees Morning Brew. And like always, you degenerates, wake up and get your coffee. I'm out.